Alberto Zoppé, born January 4th, 1922 in Vittorio Veneto, a small village northeast Italy near Venice. Born to a circus family, hailing already with 5-generation tradition. And Alberto himself, at a very young age, began training in every different aspect of the circus art. But of course honing in, or zeroing in on that expertise that was to bring him fame, that of bareback riding. John Ringling North of Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, who wanted to bring Alberto to his circus with his magnificent bareback riding troupe. Well, my dad, he was really not interested. He wanted to stay with Circo Zoppé in Italy, which was off and running and doing very well. He would add one more little thing. If you want me to come to the United States, you have to give me an elephant for my circus in Italy. I'm sure Mr. Ringling North was aghast at that, but as time went on, decided to bring the Zoppé troupe to Ringling Brothers. In 1947, as Alberto came with his horses and his team, which included his sister Ruggiera, and they together did a magnificent pas de deux on horseback, including a two-high with her standing atop his head, and acrobatic vaulting and pyramids on horseback. The comedy of Cucciolo, who was a vital member of that team, flying through the air on the mechanic. But of course the feature of the Zoppé riding troupe was a backward layout somersault horse to horse. (1949, 50, 51, my father traveled with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. In 51, was a featured artist in the movie The Greatest Show on Earth, which won an Oscar for Best Picture in that year, directed by Cecil B. DeMille, and my father had full credits in that particular picture. 52 through 55 in the upcoming years, performing with such shows as Pollock Brother, Hammett Morton, King Brothers. But you know, circus life, as we in the circus know, is not without its tragedies. I remember the day in Wheeling, West Virginia, as my father was away from the trailer. He was actually helping out, training a horse. The weather was so wet that the horse slipped out on the pavement, trapping my father beneath the horse. Again, as we know in the circus, there's that indomitable spirit that the show must go on. And so my father rose up from that tragedy, mended his wounds, and continued on bareback riding, still doing that magnificent backward somersault from horse to horse. 1959, over the Christmas time, it found my father, Alberto, in Cuba. During that time there, one of the artists who was in the wild cage with the lions and the tigers, Oscar Cognac, somehow one of the lions overcame him, and he was trapped in the jaws of that lion. My father went into the cage and saved Oscar Cognac's life. But of course, if you remember the years, 1958-59 in Cuba, that was when Castro took over, and of course the whole family, the whole troupe, and the whole circus were trapped in Cuba for a temporary time, and I'm sure it was a great effort to bring all the animals and all the people back. 1960s, performing on Clyde Beatty Cole Brothers Circus, as my father was doing that somersault from horse to horse. The horse in the back had a heart attack, falling beneath his feet, and again my father suffered another ailing injury to his hip. But of course that was the end of his bareback riding career. But the show does go on, and you know, you can't keep a true performer down. So what else would you think of? Well, my father couldn't ride horses anymore, so he came up with bareback riding dogs. I remember as the horse, Pasha, would be riding around the ring, Pat, the Doberman pinscher, would jump on the back of the horse, and there was a tiny little dog, Peppy, who would jump on top of Pat's back, and then the whole team of dogs would be on top of the horse, inside, underneath the legs, all over the place, not to be ended with nothing less than a chicken at the very top of that. Well, that particular act brought him back to Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey for a tour of South America. And eventually, he added a lion on riding on that horse. Of course, most of us have seen lions riding on horses' backs, but it's always in a caged area, and my father did it in an uncaged situation. Well, the other thought that he had was, why not trade audience members to ride? You know, there's others who have done riding academies and comedy routines on that. Uppermost in my mind would be Tommy Hannaford, who was just completely exceptional as his role riding on the horses. But in all of these acts, you have somebody within the show who's actually doing the performance, what we call a stooge. But my father decided that he was not going to use his kids. He was not going to use people he knew. He brought people right out of the audience, and it was just incredible the things that he were able to manipulate them to do. It never failed to bring the house down. And my father performed that bareback riding academy just until the last year at the age of 83. Now, with his wife Sandy in the 70s, they came out and continued the Circo Zoppé tradition, which had been non-existent since 1952 when Circo Zoppé closed, but began producing shrine circuses in major arenas. He was an innovator in the theatrical storyline that you see today in circuses such as Cirque du Soleil and others. Today, all 5 of his children are still active and performing in the circus. Giovanni travels around the globe delighting audiences with slapstick comedy in the air and on the ground and carrying on the legacy of Circo Zoppé. Delilah, who's here today, continues performing amazing feats on the high wire. Tosca, with her husband Jay by her side, accomplish a medley of tasks from working with horses to being a ring mistress and working in the background of the runnings of circuses. And Carla still performs with her husband as they present their talented dog act. And why wouldn't his children carry on the tradition? After all, he set an example for all of us as a performer. But today we're here to honor the man Alberto Zoppé, still in the ring after a lifetime of 80 plus years. You can say that I'm prejudiced. Perhaps I am. But on behalf of Circo Zoppé, my brother Giovanni, the friends and families who have sponsored this honor today, you'll have to agree that Alberto Zoppé is truly exceptionally qualified to receive the honor of being placed on the Ring of Fame. Alberto Zoppé.
What my son say is so much true that I lived that time of my life. Now, I'm born in the circus business, and I grown up in the show, in the circus, the real circus. What a real circus means. I'm sorry.
You honor us by being.
Thank you very much. I wish I can be up on the horses again, but I'm 85 years old. But I still be in the show business. I still working with my children, and I present the show, and I welcome every place I go. Thank you very much.
Alberto.